It's the Fulhamish podcast, your independent voice of Fulham FC, and today it's the Thursday Club. Even though it's a slightly different voice on the microphone, it's still all the news you need to know from the latest around Fulham FC, but it's some slightly different characters here today. Sammy and Jack are both off at Jack's wedding. They're not marrying each other despite their incredible chemistry on camera. So all that's left for me to do now is say congratulations to Jack and Lucy and to welcome my guest today, Yasmin Mills. Welcome.
Thank you very much. How are you doing, Elizabeth?
I'm doing really, really well. And I am excited and delighted to have you on the Thursday Club. You've been in the background of quite a lot of Thursday Club recordings, but this is your first time on sort of the pundit microphone role. How are you feeling?
I'm so excited. I feel much more comfortable in the actual live venue with you rather than being across Zoom/StreamYard, where you can't really tell where the glitches are going to be or where someone's internet is or blah, 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 blah. It feels quite nice to hear you live. And yeah, I'm usually behind the buttons, but I'm behind the microphone today.
We've done a couple of quick takes together.
Yes. Always bad. Always not the quality, but after the game.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace.
That Brighton last minute penalty.
Yeah. Oh my God, terrible. Crystal Palace was like the worst feeling on a quick take I think I've ever had.
Yeah, that was pretty ropey, pretty rough, but we're hoping to bring a slightly better vibe
Well, you say that.
Much better vibe to the
yeah.
podcast today. We got a lot to get through today.
Yeah, some fun bits coming up today.
Peek behind the curtain. This time last week, I was concerned that we would have nothing to talk about.
Boy, will we roll.
Through a combination of Fabrizio Romano, Fulham announcing season tickets, a certain Yasmin Mills going to the launch of the Fulham Pier.
Yeah, I did stumble across that, yeah.
Then we got a lot to talk about. And in part two, you want to stick around because it will be Question Master Yasmin hosting a quiz for me and Jordan Wilson-Pierce, currently behind the camera. And then you can play along and please let us know your scores, but don't let us know if you beat us. I think that's what we'll be wanting to say, right?
Yeah, please praise us, not criticise us. That would be amazing at our Fulham knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot to get into today, so we're going to dive straight in. I think the main headline coming out of Fulham the past week has been the Kenny Tete news. Jack and Joe did cover this excellently on the Jack and Joe show, but there has been a development overnight, as is always the case in Fulham circles. So for those who don't know, I'll just catch you up briefly. Fabrizio Romano dropped the news on Sunday that Kenny Tete had reached a verbal agreement with Everton to join them after leaving Fulham on a free in the summer. And that was obviously on some level slightly devastating. And then fresh off the press last night, Fabrizio Romano has then dropped the news that Fulham have sent a new offer to Kenny Tete following this news. And that his future very much still hangs in the balance. So nothing is done. Yasmin, I wanted to ask how you're feeling about this situation. Fulham transfer summer, it feels like at this point of the summer, it's never happy stories. It's always concern about losing someone. How are you feeling about the fact that that could be Kenny Tete?
Yeah, bitterly disappointed. I felt pretty depressed about it on Sunday and Monday. I love Kenny Tete and I would have really hated the idea of him leaving. It seemed like quite, as is the way with Fulham, we find out that these transfer rumours are about like a day before they actually happen. So it always catches you with a bit of surprise. I mean, we knew that his deal was up at the end of this summer. But yeah, Kenny Tete is a beloved member of the Fulham side. He's been here 5 years now. He's a key figure, despite having had some issues with injuries. Yeah, it's just a problem I didn't really want to have. So I'm delighted, actually, to find that this rumour is still spinning and it is still in motion and it's not a done deal. It just seems to be a bit of a bargain between who's offering 2 years and 3 years and if there's any more. And yeah, I don't really want to see him going off to Everton. I know Joe said on the Jack and Joe show that he'd fit very well into a David Moyes side. I think that's probably right. But equally, I don't really know why you're going to Everton when you're at a Fulham which is pushing further and further up the table. Fulham is a hopeful side. I think Everton is as well towards the tail end of last season when David Moyes came in. There's there's some hope and aspiration there as well. But you've got your foot in it at Fulham. You will be the first choice right back. Okay, Castagna did a stellar job for you while you were out, and poor Timmy's legs must have been absolutely knackered by the end of that period where he was starting every game. I don't really want to see him do that again. But yeah, Kenny, you've got a future here. I guess he's 29, isn't he? So he's still got a little bit in his legs. He's still got a career ahead of him. So it's just, I guess, who offers more years, I guess. But yeah, I wouldn't want to see Kenny leave. So I'm glad that Fulham are continuing the fight. They're not backing down.
Yeah, I agree. I was a bit confused when I saw the rumour initially, because I thought Fulham are, at least on paper, more upwardly mobile than Everton. Everton having obviously some well-reported financial difficulties the last few years, with spiralling towards relegation this time last year, to be honest. And sacked Sean Dyche and brought in David Moyes, an old manager. And it doesn't, I don't want to be disrespectful to Everton, but it doesn't feel, at least from my perspective, that they have the ambition that Fulham have at the moment. But then maybe I'm being really naive, and maybe Marco Silva isn't being backed in the way that I would want him to be. And maybe that's why Kenny Tete is leaving. It's really hard to say. I'm really trying to look for silver linings in this situation.
Yeah.
And I think Jack and Joe did a really good job of covering it yesterday. So I'm not going to repeat what they said. But briefly, Joe made the point that, if we're looking to upgrade in that position this summer, we only can really keep one of Tete and Castagna. And I want to make the point to you that I think that should be Castagna.
What, that you keep?
Yeah, I'd keep Castagna over Tete.
Oh, okay. I want to know. Okay, why? Yeah.
So this is on some level me just trying to grasp at straws, because I don't want Fulham to be in a worse position after Kenny Tete goes, because I do still think he'll go, despite the news that's come this morning, or come last night, I should say. Last night's recording on Wednesday. Tete's availability for us has been a slightly major issue the past few years, I would say. In a small sample size, we've had Castagna with us for 2 seasons. In those 2 seasons, Castagna has missed 5 games through injury. Tete has been out for 29 games. And I know he had that big injury this season, but he also had notable absences last season as well through injury. And in his 5 years with us, he's been plagued by injury issues. And I would say potentially our most injury-prone player. I think that's probably fair enough. And as much as I think, with all respect to Timothy Castagna, I think Kenny Tete is a far better right back than Timothy Castagna when he's on the pitch.
Yeah.
Without that reliability, it doesn't make sense for us to keep him over Castagna, considering that he's no value to us if he's not playing, if you understand what I mean. I am kind of massively grasping at straws, but I do think reliability in that position is so important. And if we're going to upgrade, we want to upgrade and have a backup that is really consistent and reliable. And I know Castagna has been out with injury for the last few weeks, but he's been out from injury because he's been recovering of playing every single minute of every single game. And once he's recovered, I think he'll be back and be able to provide that consistency again.
Yeah, but then does that not create a cycle where you run Castagna into the ground, and he's not the most agile of players, I would say, especially in comparison to Tete in the same position. I by the way, I love Castagna and he did an incredible job, but I always felt a little bit apprehensive. I definitely would feel apprehensive if I thought that was our first choice.
Okay.
So I guess I would need an upgrade if it was Castagna that I was keeping. Because, yeah, I guess you want your upgrade to be reliable. You want your second choice to be reliable so that when your upgrade is injured, then they can come in. Is that not what we've already got, though, with Tete? That's the thing. Castagna's doing his job very, very well at being the second choice. He's reliable and he'll do a job when he comes in. Maybe what Tete's thinking about going to Everton, because if you go to Everton, you're also first choice. That's what in my head I couldn't work out. Why would you go to Everton when you're also first choice at Fulham? Maybe what Tete was foreseeing was Castagna being gotten rid of as clearing out that right back position and bringing in another right back, which would possibly then create some competition for Tete, which he didn't want at this stage of his career. That is probably where I would see his decision making as making sense.
Yeah, and Tete hasn't always been first choice for Fulham against Castagna at the beginning of, not last season, but the season before.
Yeah, he's had to fight for that position.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't want to do it again.
So yeah, it could be a possibility. I mean, personally, even though with my head on and trying to find an angle where I am fine with him going, I do really want him to stay. I do think he's a great player. And when we're watching him, there have been generational performances that I've seen from him. I've seen generational performances from players all over the pitch, but there are some from Kenny Tete that really stand out. And any of us who were lucky enough to be at the Bridge a couple of seasons ago at that 0-0 draw, and he just tore up the pitch that day. He was unbelievable. To think about losing a talent like that is a little bit concerning.
I would also have a concern for what it does to the knock-on effects of the defensive line as well, what it then does to Anderson. That partnership is lovely between Tete and Anderson.
Yeah.
So to then lose that, I think, would have a knock-on effect across that line. So I'd be concerned about that. Also, what it would then do to how Marco looks to shape up the team as well, in terms of if you're left with Castagna, are we going to be seeing more of that five at the back? Which Jack and Joe also did reference with how Zinchenko might fit into this side. You might look to do a five at the back. Okay, it worked on certain occasions, but it really ran dry at Brighton. So I don't really want to rely on that. And I think if you had Castagna and weren't able to replace Tete quite so well, you're then a bit stuck. And I don't want to see that knock on, basically.
Yeah, I do agree. I don't think Castagna is a good first choice option in that, but I think he is a solid option and has proved to be more reliable than Tete in terms of availability. So yeah, I guess we'll see. I think there's a very real chance that by the time this podcast comes out, there's been another update. So I don't think we'll spend that much longer on it, and instead move on to, the Fulham Pier, which opened this weekend. And Yasmin, you were there.
I was. I really didn't expect to be there. I was working in London in the morning and thought, instead of going back home, why don't I just hang about and head down and see what's going on the Thames? Yeah, I've got very mixed feelings about it. I don't think I was proved right or wrong. When I turned up, it was a boiling 30-degree day, so it was actually quite nice to be in the shade under the Riverside stand. I think it's incredibly successful at what it set out to do, but it didn't. I left quite quickly because I didn't really feel like I wanted to stay there much longer. I didn't really feel like it was made for me. I felt like it was made for the families of Hammersmith, Fulham and Chelsea, the locals. It was also a destination for tourists, maybe, or people who want to spend a sunny day by the river. And if that is what they wanted, which I believe it probably is, brilliant. You've got it. You've got it spot on. You've got your gourmet food stalls. Everything's slick. Everything's clean. They had face painting. They had bubbles everywhere. They had guys in flower outfits, and it was an activity day, and it would definitely be somewhere where you would go for a nice G&T or a craft beer or I don't know, some sort of salad or burger, gourmet burger. That's perfect. But it wasn't for me on that day. As a Fulham fan, I was walking around and I could hear conversations going, so yeah, that's the football ground. Look how close it is to the football ground. Yeah, that's what they've done. They've added it on. So no one was, there were like a handful of people in Fulham shirts when I turned up at lunchtime. Granted, if I'd stayed longer, there might have been more, but there's no real Fulham branding. It's just a new walkway, a new place to get food. And I think it's succeeded at that. It doesn't have the Fulham football vibe, which is a shame.
So was the day just like a sort of party vibe, stalls, like almost like a mini festival on a much sort of, on a much more basic term, family day out kind of vibe.
I would say family day out rather than, I think actually, to be fair, if I'd stayed longer for when the DJs came on and Example came on, I might have said it felt a little bit more like a mini festival. But when I turned up, there was a brass band playing. So like it felt more like a village green type of family day out. All the kids had activities that they could get involved in. There were local independent craft stalls and stuff. Brilliant. Great. Really good. Money maker. Community day. Looked great. But yeah, it just really didn't feel like I was sat outside the ground that I go to every week.
I see.
Every couple of weeks. So like it didn't have that football vibe. But I left. I was getting a bit hot, to be honest.
Yeah. Is it an issue for you that there's that lack of connection to Fulham? Like, I think from my perspective, I'm kind of fine. I don't feel that connected to the Riverside and the area around it, particularly. When I go, I sit in the Hammersmith end, etc. And I'm happy for the Riverside to sort of do what it needs to do to make Fulham a bit of cash. That's fine. Is that a problem for you?
No, I do see what you're saying. I kind of have similar feelings in that the Hammersmith end feels like home for me. So yeah, I've had no connection to the Riverside stand. So however it's shaken up, I don't really mind too much. I think it was just more. I did feel a little bit of shock when I turned up, and because Craven Cottage, as it will to most people listening to this podcast, feels like a second home.
Yeah.
And it didn't have that homely feeling, I would say. As soon as I get over that, I'm sure I'll go again. And it is lovely for all the families and the locals who are running past, walking past, somewhere to stop by. It's halfway down the river path, like, great. But it's not my second home anymore, I would say. Which actually is a bit depressing, but it's brilliant. It's bustling. It's going to make loads of money. But yeah, it felt a bit clean. Football to me isn't clean.
Yeah, well, we've experienced the Hammersmith end for a couple of decades. Exactly. So yeah, I think that makes sense. I think the conversation about the Riverside and the members club in the Riverside and the Fulham Pier is all kind of this broader conversation about how we know the club views its supporters, and the way that Ali Mack has spoken about the fans of the club and the press and stuff is concerning. And I think if he hadn't done that, it would feel like absolutely fine to have this tacked on. But because we know about this already quite fractured relationship with the fans and with the board, it does feel a little bit like they're leaning away from the football and into something else. Yeah,
it wasn't made for me. It was made for the people with money.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're right.
But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see like how big it becomes within, how much it's pushed to Fulham fans over the next months, years, and what that looks like. As a Fulham fan, I wasn't getting stuff into my inbox about the Fulham Pier launching. I wasn't really that aware of it until, my friends who are Fulham fans brought it up, but it wasn't like it was being pushed to me as a Fulham fan. It was being pushed to other people, which, it's fine. I guess we'll see like what comes of it. But yeah. I mean, it does sound like quite a nice day out, to be honest. It does sound very my bag. Yeah.
Although I did
a bit of craft beer and some face painting.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, as a business plan, is great. And they've done well.
Yeah. Well, speaking of business,
yes,
slightly clunky segue, but I think it's important for us to just briefly touch on the new season ticket prices, which have been announced. So for those who don't know, those who aren't season ticket holders, the club announces renewal prices a couple of months ago, and all current season ticket holders are able to renew their season ticket. This year there was a rise of, I believe, 2.8% across the board, which feels broadly fair enough, quite in line with inflation. So it would have been nice, I think, to have a freeze. I think it would have been a really good gesture by the club, but I don't think any Fulham fans were particularly annoyed about the season ticket renewal prices. However, looking at the new season ticket prices, they are, from my perspective at least, a little bit eye-watering. It costs £921 to sit in the middle of H5, which is incredibly steep. for a ticket in the Hammersmith end with, as we've spoken about, those facilities that aren't necessarily up to scratch. And I think from my perspective, my big concern is about the viability now about recruiting new season ticket holders. I know that season ticket holders are not moneymakers for clubs generally. It's much easier to fill a seat with a tourist that will come and spend money in the club shop and spend money on food and drink than someone who's got their routine as a season ticket holder who might get one drink in the ground but is probably going to go to a pub elsewhere beforehand. Is definitely not going to the club shop every week to buy a shirt or some clothing or a souvenir. It makes sense from a business perspective that the club is not trying to incentivise new season ticket holders in the short term, but in the long term it does make me concerned about the sort of renewability and building of this fan base.
Yeah, and as much as these fans might not go to the club shop or whatever, but they might come for the drinks beforehand on the concourse, and they definitely might go to the Riverside. That is exactly actually where that business plan might meet up perfectly, are these new season ticket holders that would then peek round to this nice new stand and go, this is where the river path is. You connect those two. Equally the other way around. You have people going into the Riverside on a normal day when the path is opened up, and they go, this is a nice ground. This seems like a nice local club for me. I might go to a game here. And then they grow into fans as well. So I feel like that is actually a perfect connection, which they could have if they wanted to round that up quite nicely. But I actually think there's a disconnect there. The problem is the renewal tickets were all right. I mean, an adult ticket was like 600 where I am. And you know what? Well, I mean, when you break it down, it's like 30, 40 quid per game. Actually, that is still quite a lot. But that is just the direction that football tickets are going in. It's the massive jump up to the non-renewal prices, which is the problem. Yeah, 921 for the same seat is quite hefty, and that is always the problem I have had with the big the high prices of just the normal match day tickets, is because it stops people just bringing along their kids or their mates, which then adds to the Fulham fan base. We've had this conversation to death, and we all know that we broadly agree with that point. Basically, that's the point that we all have a problem with, is where's the future of Fulham? Where's the heart of Fulham going to go? Because I was probably that last generation to get picked up. I got into Fulham through my dad bringing me in through the £1 kid tickets. It was brilliant. Like, there were obviously quite a few other problems with that administration of Fulham, but the ticket it made me the fan like that I am today, and I will never not be a Fulham fan now. They've got my money until I die. Like, you know, they've got me, and I did go down to the Riverside and I did spend money there. So it swings and roundabouts, really. Like I think that's kind of where it falters slightly. And they're not seeing that personal connection to how money can also be made. Like, I don't have a problem with them wanting to make money. Yeah. But you can't lose the heart at the same time.
Absolutely. We've spoken, as you said, about it a lot on Fulhamish over the past few years. And it feels very short term rather than long term. About like deprioritising season ticket holders and loyal fans in the short term is great financially for the club, but in the long term, as you said, you're a Fulham fan for life because of these things. Ditto, I'm a Fulham fan for life because I was able to come affordably as a kid.
And you then also encourage the whole problem of having away fans in the home end.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You create more space for them.
Yeah.
And that's when I then get really frustrated with the amount of money that I've spent on my season ticket. There are things I can let slide. The facilities of the Hammy end, I can let slide. I don't really use them anyway. But well, actually, maybe I'm disproving my point there. Sorry, Fulham Football Club. I actually don't spend money at the ground, but I do spend money on my season ticket. And if I'm spending that much, I do not want to be sat next to a Man United fan who is verbally expressing themselves as a Man United fan, which I did have this season, and I found it really difficult to concentrate on that game because I was just so conscious of this stranger who was sat in the Hammersmith end, which is the last place any of these people should be. So, yeah, I that's my main problem.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with everything you said, and it definitely concerns me too. And as one final point on this, it concerns me really a lot about the people that take a year off being a season ticket. I know for obvious reasons the club would want to financially de-incentivise that. But I believe if you have a season ticket for years and years and years, and then you take 1 year off, for example, because you're having a baby or because you're away or whatever, then you come back and have to pay the new renewal prices. And I just feel like you're going to lose a lot of people through that. And that is really, really concerning.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's all we got time for in part 1. We will be back after a very quick break with a Fulham themed quiz where Yasmin is going to pit the finest minds of Fulhamish, me and Jordan Wilson-Pierce, against each other, and we're going to see who comes out as quiz victor.
Welcome back to part 2 of the Fulhamish podcast. We're now going to be moving on to the Fulhamish Pub Quiz, but this time we have an added guest, Jordan Wilson-Pierce. How are you doing?
Very well, very well. I'm nervous I'm going to absolutely make a fool of myself because under these bright lights of the studio, I get a bit of brain fog. So who knows? I'll probably get the colours of what we play in wrong.
Well, you're the only one who's come in the dress code.
Well, it's a good reminder, just in case you do ask.
Just in case. Well, Elizabeth, you've come in your Dua Lipa tour shirt.
Yeah, big Dua Lipa fan.
Fulham's new sponsor.
God, in my dreams.
Imagine that would be incredible.
Yeah, I'm excited to quiz.
Yes.
I'm feeling a little bit nervous, but
okay.
The thing with quizzes, especially under the lights, it is embarrassing to get things wrong, so I'm just hopeful that doesn't happen today. But.
No, that's okay. I've tried to keep it as recent as possible. We're all young people on this podcast, so our historical knowledge of FFC is slightly lacking, I guess. But yeah, everything is basically post-2018, if that narrows it down for you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's when I went travelling. I wasn't there for a long time.
The excuses are coming in now.
Yeah.
So round 1, we've got Guess the Player. I'm going to give you 5 clues. And just shout when you think you have an idea as to who it is.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 of those. Then we have round 2, higher or lower. And then round 3 is general knowledge of the 24-25 season.
Amazing.
Okay.
Lovely.
Right, let's get cracking. Okay, so round 1 is Guess the Player. Question number 1. This player has the record for the fastest yellow card at Fulham. No?
No.
Okay.
It's quite obscure.
This player has the record for the most penalties missed at Fulham.
Do we only get one guess and then we're out?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm going to hold tight then.
I think so. Holding tight.
I think I know it, but...
This player has the record for most goals scored in a championship season.
Is Alexander Mitrovic.
Very nice. I think that was Elizabeth,
though. I didn't want to talk
well
over
done.
it. I was being polite.
I did think it was penalties. Were penalties missed? It so obviously was that, but then I just got in my own head that it could be someone else.
Yeah.
But like he missed 4 out of 8 in one season, which is appalling.
Yeah.
We were struggling. We changed it up a lot that season of who was going to go.
But when you hear about it, so the penalties missed 8.
Yeah.
8. Why on earth were we still letting him take the ball?
I mean, the most painful one was the one against Newcastle away, where
Yeah.
he double kicked and he scored. But again, I guess that added another one to the chalkboard of missed penalties. But
I was going to say, do you think that is the most painful missed penalty, though? No.
No.
I think that always falls to Lookman.
Yeah, it's the Adamola Lookman one. Yeah.
It's painful for a travelling away fan who made the whole effort to go up
To Newcastle,
to Newcastle, and that was our chance to secure that game. But yeah.
I'm going to add a new rule into the next 2 questions of this Guess the Player. You get a bonus point if you get it in the first 2 clues.
Ooh, okay.
So if you think you know and you want to take the risk for an added point, go for it.
But then you're out if you get it wrong.
If you're out, you're out if you get it wrong. But for example, if you think you got it on penalties missed, it might be worth the struggle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because these clues do get easier as they go on. So I don't want to make it too easy for you. So, okay, question number 2. This player has received a Forever Fulham award.
Okay.
This player is one of the few to have appeared in 3 successful Fulham promotion campaigns.
Dennis Adoy.
Wrong. Wrong. Yes, it is close. I did test this on someone else, and they also went for Dennis Adoy. So it's just up to you now, Elizabeth. Can you get it in the next 3?
I'll have one more. I think I know who it is, but I'll have one more.
Okay. This player was born in France and has youth caps for their national team, but he chose to switch to another African national team in 2014.
Oh my God, that's appalling. I thought it was someone totally different.
Oh well,
God.
don't say, because I don't want to get you out.
Okay, right.
This player's tour diaries in Portugal were always very entertaining. Have you got it now? Do you want to go for it, or do you want to have one more for safety?
I think I'll go for it. I think it's Niskin Cabana.
Correct.
Oh.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's so interesting. How did I miss his Forever Fulham award?
I think I was probably in the loo or something.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
I think
I'm
I
so-
do
Worst
remember
time to
it.
do them, isn't it?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
world's longest queue for the ladies at the Hammersmith end.
Yeah.
100%. I do think it wasn't too long after he left. So he left in 2023. I think it might have been something like the next season. Or
So how many
something.
Dennis Adoy have? 2
Forever
campaigns.
campaigns. When did he leave? When did Dennis?
Yeah, he left before we got promoted in 2022. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was there
So that-
celebrating, but he wasn't officially
Correct.
promoted
That's
with
it.
Fulham. Yeah.
Yeah. That reminds me.
yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, right. Going into the last one of round 1.
Okay.
This player was only 19 years old when he played for Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League. This was in 2011. Just to give you a little bit of a base.
Everyone's probably screaming it out already.
I know.
This player made his debut for Fulham in a 3-2 victory over Brentford in 2022. It's coming.
This is so appalling at how bad I am at this.
No.
You get a bonus point if you go for it. And then you'd be level with Elizabeth.
I've got it in my head.
It's all for fun. Imagine the glory, Jordan. Imagine the glory.
I know. It's more the fact I've forgotten his name and now I'm looking a fool. I'm just trying to unlock a door.
It's all right.
Oh,
I'll move on. This might secure it for you. This player has never scored a goal during his career at Fulham.
Why am I so terrible at this?
Anyone got a clue, or shall I move on?
I've got an idea on who it is. Go next, and then I think I'll let it.
risk it. Go
No,
for it.
I'm not risking it.
Okay,
I'm not
go
risking
next.
it.
Go next.
This player has appeared 125 times for Arsenal.
It's Bernd Leno.
Correct. Well done.
Brilliant.
Clue
I
number
didn't
5
know
would have
that
been
he's-
this player can handle the ball. So
I
that would
didn't
give
know
him away.
that he played for Bayer Leverkusen when he was 19. Isn't that adorable?
Right, okay, so scores on the doors after round 1 is Elizabeth 3.
Oh no. Oh no.
Jordan 0, I'm
Wow.
afraid. Okay, but moving on to round 2. So this is higher or lower, so you can both
Yes.
have an answer for this.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay. Question number 1. Is Anthony Robinson's league assists for this season
Okay.
higher or lower than Raul Jimenez's league goals?
Ooh, that's such a good question.
I'm gonna go higher.
I'm going lower.
You're going lower. It is lower.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I know he was well ahead on assists.
Yeah.
And then everyone was like, oh my God, he's going to be incredible. And then he totally dried up. Not a criticism of his performances, I should clarify, but just the stats.
Yeah. Right, okay, question number 2. Is the number of American players to have played for Fulham higher or lower than Alex Iwobi's shirt number for this season?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm going to go lower.
Lower.
I'm going lower. I can't count up to over 17. I can count up to 17 people, by the way. Not over 17 American football players.
You are correct,
Yeah.
both of you.
Yay.
It is lower. So we've had 16 American players, and obviously Iwobi plays in the number 17.
It would be great to say that we both knew that, 100%, but so it's more luck than anything.
To be fair,
Well-
I probably would have thought the American players were slightly lower. I probably wouldn't have gone for 16, 17, but...
Dempsey, Ream.
Are you about to try and name all 16?
No, not
That
all
would
16.
be an extra
no,
full
not all
day.
16. It's the ones I knew. Was it 16 was the answer?
Yeah,
Wow.
you've got to think about the younger players as well and like the.
Yeah, our third choice goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Okay, number 3. Is Marco Silva's age higher or lower than Fulham's record Premier League points tally?
Great question. I think lower.
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 Got to be.
You are both correct.
Yeah, I was going to say
done.
he looks good for.
Yeah, it looks good for 70.
What was it? 54.
Yeah,
is the record?
54.
Yeah, 54 is the
Nice.
record points tally. Silva's age is 47.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I would have probably put Marco definitely in late 40s. So I think that would have answered
same.
my question. Okay, number 4 in round 2. Is the number of penalties taken in the Preston v Fulham Carabao Cup shootout, is that higher or lower than the number of rom-coms that Hugh Grant has been in?
That's such a great question.
That's a great
and I'm
Fulham
so
twist as
glad.
well.
Also,
that we-
please don't question me on how my definition of rom-com is.
Yeah.
But just cut me some slack on this.
I'm
one.
going to say that the number of penalties taken is higher. To clarify, I think that there were more penalties taken than Hugh Grant has been in films.
I think there was less penalties taken
Okay.
than Hugh Grant's been in films.
Okay, Elizabeth has the point.
31 penalties.
34.
34
God.
penalties.
34
cut that out.
penalties.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
And
no.
he's only been in around 15 rom-coms.
I was going to say how many rom-coms can a man be in? But yeah. Wow.
Right, okay. Moving on to the last question of round 2. Did Example have more or less number 1 UK singles than league goals scored by Calvin Bassey this season? You can tell I'm really scraping the barrel now.
I do think you drawing on the Fulham multiverse with this is hilarious, by the way. I think so. I think Bassey's had more league goals this season than. Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay.
I think Examples had more number 1s. I'm going to go opposite with you and just hope that I get an amazing comeback here.
Jordan takes it.
Yes.
Jordan takes it.
I think my favourite was the Ed Sheeran crossover for the Nando's Black Card song.
I don't think it was that one.
I think that hit number 1. I'm sure it did.
Jordan
It was the Change the Way You Kiss Me was one of them. And then the other one was Stay Awake or something like that. Kickstart wasn't one.
Yeah, I mean, shout out Example, but I'm not that familiar with his music.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Fair enough. To be fair, Kickstarts and Change the Way You Kiss Me is about as far as I will go for example songs that I've heard. So I was surprised that it wasn't that. But yeah, so Jordan's got that. So yeah, Calvin Bassey had 1 league goal. He scored 2 for Fulham this season, but the other one was in the FA Cup.
I remember, yes.
And yeah, Example has had 2 UK singles. It's top
tight.
number 1 UK singles.
Great stuff.
Okay, so scores on the doors after round 2 is Elizabeth 7, JWP 3.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah,
I think
a
you can bring
comeback
it
could
back.
happen.
I think you can bring it back. Okay, general knowledge. So we'll keep going with the both of you give a answer. I
Okay.
would say.
Great
Okay.
stuff.
Okay. Right. Question number 1 of the general knowledge round.
I'm ready.
Let's see if JWP can pull off the ultimate comeback.
Yeah. I
The
told
Great
you,
Escape.
It's these lights in the studio. It's brain fog.
No, you've done well. To be fair, I've picked some tricky questions. Right. Okay. Question number 1. Fulham scored 54 goals across the Premier League season. How many goals did we concede?
I know the answer.
Oh no.
So I could say it and JWP can also go for
I'm
it.
just
Yeah,
trying
go
to
for it
remember what we
first.
finished on goal difference. I remember we were quite positive, only slightly positive towards the end of the season, and I can't. We obviously lost a lot of games, so I feel like it evened out. I am gonna go 52.
Elizabeth.
I know it was 54.
Oh, it was even.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought if
I never
you
know-
knew it was goal difference of 0, you'd get it. But it's only that.
I just, to be honest.
To be fair, you could have your head held high on that one because you were very, very close and you knew exactly that it was like slightly positive.
It was. I'm just trying to work out because obviously we got that win against Brentford. Did we add another one on?
Yeah.
No.
I think like that question sums up Fulham fans' mindset as a whole.
Yeah.
Jordan going, I know we were slightly positive with a 0 goal difference. At least it wasn't minus.
Well,
it's
that's why I
fine.
was very surprised with that stat. I think Opta put out about fan satisfaction at the end of the year, because relatively I was quite happy with it.
Yeah.
But then position-wise in the table, dropping to 11th. Oh, it was just I didn't think it was a reflection of how emotionally I felt that season.
Yes, I definitely understand that. The quote, though, of us finishing 5th out on a 3-horse race is just amazing for this season. I think that's a great little line
So
to think
almost
about.
happened. Thankfully, Crystal Palace conceded.
Right, okay, question number 2. Which home fixture this season do you think had the highest attendance?
Such a good question. It would be really funny if it was like an absolutely terrible game. I am going to go for Liverpool at home.
Okay. Jordan?
That's clever, because you would have had a lot of the away fans as
We
well
would,
in the
but
home.
I don't know.
Oh, what was buzzing? The thing is also, we did... this is a tricky one, because we were partially opening that Riverside stand again.
That is a very good point.
that's
Maybe it's a
so
bad
good.
season to think about. Yeah,
so
indeed.
it would have been one of the last games. Why not? Let's say Brentford, because everyone would have wanted to be in
That's
that
a good.
game.
Those are both very,
Yeah.
very good answers.
If
But
if
you're
you
going to
weren't-
tell us they're
but only one of you are correct.
Oh no!
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I can
and
imagine.
that person is Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Right? Yes,
Yeah.
it was Liverpool. Liverpool at home.
It would have made sense. I think we had about 17 Liverpool
Yeah, I
fans
feel
chucked
like-
out from the home end, so
Yeah.
they would have had boosted
Yeah.
our numbers.
Yeah.
But if
that
you
was a
weren't at
problem
that Brentford game and we didn't have a high number, who are you?
Yeah,
Who are
indeed.
Why were you not there?
I'm not saying
Jordan
anything.
Wilson Pierce has spoken.
Yeah, well, I just wanted a point. That's it.
Okay, question number 3. Who captained Fulham in the FA Cup 5th round against Man United?
Okay. This is horrible. I feel like, it was kind of like a rogue captaincy. I'm not going to go Leno. I don't think. Maybe?
He did have a big period of it between him, Robinson.
I'm going to go for Anthony Robinson for this one.
Jordan Wilson Pierce.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Leno. Yeah, for sure.
Again, only one of you is correct.
Well, we all know who this is going to be.
Who's it?
And it is Elizabeth
Yeah,
Barnard.
brilliant.
Yes, it was Anthony Robinson. Yeah, there was a little bit of a switch. So again, Jordan, you
Well, this is
these points you're losing, they're not bad points to lose.
I'm going with the exact same tactic as I had with my FPL for the rest of the season. I knew I wasn't going to win it by having the same team, so I just had to go rogue. And I know...
No, but Leno isn't rogue.
No, but this famous quizmaster here... who goes weekly, I knew it was going to be a hard battle, and now I know she's on a run. I'm just having to... I can't go with you. I've got to go against, so...
I do love to quiz, but my quizmaster does not like football. So the most football question we got was like, which football club are the Seagulls? And I was like, easy as hell. So
Yeah, I think I'd very happily take that.
okay, I'm ready for the next question.
But yes, okay. How many injury time goals did Fulham score this season?
Oh, that's such a fun question.
I'm going to just start off. I'm
Okay.
just going to go 13.
13, okay.
I don't think it was quite that many. I'm going to go 8.
8. It was 7.
Oh,
So I think I'm going to give it for whoever was the closest.
that's really generous of you.
Well, to be fair.
Just make it even worse for me.
Sorry. Upon reflection.
I
probably
do
shouldn't
feel
have.
like there were loads of great moments.
Was it
Yeah.
13 goals from substitution?
Yeah, so this is where the
But that's when we
confusion's
always
very-
bring them on, right? Is in injury time, those classic goals.
There were a lot of late goals. God, if I'd gone
Yeah.
into plus like
Like
after
80,
75 or
yeah.
past 80 even, that
It would have been loads,
You would
yeah.
have definitely been correct. So yeah, you had 2 at Brentford, 1 at Chelsea, Seth against Southampton, Nelson v Newcastle,
That's against Saints.
Jimenez penalty against Ipswich.
Yeah, I remember that.
Muniz against Arsenal, which was kind of where we were like, oh my god, we could come back from this. We could come back from this 2-0
Yeah.
deficit, but yeah, and then we didn't.
As
But
is
yeah,
always the way.
final question. How many miles did Fulham travel across the country for away fixtures this season? What are we thinking, Elizabeth?
It's not, I'm trying to think like on average how many miles comparison, because obviously going to Newcastle is very different to going to Chelsea, but I'm going to go 1,400.
1,400? Jordan?
See, I'm just not going to think too much into this. This is where I've had my downfall. So I'm going to go 1,401.
Well, again.
No, please don't.
One of you is correct.
Okay.
And it is Jordan Wilson Piers.
Yes. Yes. Come on.
Yeah, it was actually 3,305 miles.
Yeah.
It was far.
I was kind of thinking average of 100 per game, but then obviously like so many where we're travelling a lot more than that.
And it's up there and back. And
I wasn't even thinking about back. If I'd doubled it, things would have been very different.
Yeah, well, ChatGPT, let's fingers crossed you've got it. Well, anyway, okay, so final results of the Fulhamish Pub Quiz 2025.
Oh no.
Is Elizabeth Barnard is our winner with 11 points. Very well done.
Well done.
Woohoo.
Well done.
Thanks everyone. And thank you, Yasmin, for the questions.
No, not a problem.
And if you've been playing along at home, please let us know how you did in the comments below.
Yes.
And if you beat me, actually, I don't want to know.
No, don't. No, that would be a sour afternoon.
Well, we have one final thing to address on the agenda for today's Thursday Club.
Yeah.
And that is a new song that has been released by White Lines. And it is, I just want to hear your reaction to this, you two.
Okay.
It's a Tom Cairney, an ode to Tom Cairney, let's say that.
Lovely.
Came down for black roots to the floor, didn't need noise, just let us speak raw. Silky on the turn, vision on tap, ticking in the middle like a time-based trap. Promotion once, he held that spine. 350 games, that's more than a line. He ain't just a berry, Fulham's corner, get shouted from Stevenage Road to the shore.
10 years deep in black and white. Let us through the
Blimey.
darkest
It's
night.
unbelievable.
High-end production here.
Calm and true. Every path we trusted you. 10 years deep, and we
Oh, I can see this on EA 26 when it comes out.
This is setting a very high standard for new. This will catch
Yeah,
on.
Raining bricks, no need to talk. Seen the gaffers come and go. The PC's touch still runs the show. And the squad got thin and the crowd got loud. He kept it tight, he did us proud. No armband needed, you feel his sway. That's what loyalty looks like today.
10 years deep in black and white. Fought for
Yeah.
points with all his might.
Through the roar and through the calm, every ball felt safe in his palm. 10 years deep, still on our minds. Through the statue, it's about time. He's seen the highs like Wembley nights, playoff finals on the shining lights, championship shouts about back kings with Tom at the heart of every ring. He ain't flash, he ain't loud, but he's lifted this whole crowd. 10 years deep, that legacy's tough. Somewhere the shirt, he lives the stuff.
10 years deep in all the
I never
truth.
thought
He
a
gave
Fulham
his
fan would create a
life,
song like this for Tom
I
Cairney.
would just love to see the Hammy and try and sing this.
Yeah, imagine.
I think Sammy could
in
get
a
away
round
with it.
robin.
Yeah.
I like can't really believe it's gone on this long.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Wow.
And by the way, I cut some of this song as well.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a full-on like anthem.
It's a fantastic production. As I said, EA or the FIFA franchise, 26, that will be a perfect soundtrack.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for when he stays at Fulham.
Yeah.
I think
What
that's
do
correct.
you think of the lyrics?
Perfect.
Perfect.
I'd say 10 out of 10. Absolutely no notes on that.
Yeah, I still remember fondly the "You to Me Are Everything."
Yeah.
And my God, what a great TC edition that was.
Yeah.
But that comes close.
As a submission to This Will Catch On, can you see this catching on?
No.
Absolutely not. I can't.
No, the Hammersmith end
No.
does not have the talent for this
No.
in any way.
It's definitely not catching on, but can you see it being a hit at a live show maybe?
I could see it playing over the tannoys at the cottage before
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it would be better than what we currently have for sure.
Yeah.
That's not, it's low bar.
No, but honestly, kudos to whoever.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
well done, White Lines. I believe you've got some more music coming out in the future as well.
Yeah,
so that we can
please
look forward
make
to.
us aware of it.
Yeah,
keep
100%.
us in the loop because that was quite something.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. That's probably all we've got time for, though, isn't it?
Believe so.
Thank you very much, Jordan, for helping us with the pub quiz.
Oh, hopefully I gave some people some entertainment of taking the mick out of me.
No. You actually had some very, very good answers.
Oh, well,
it was
incorrect,
a tough quiz.
and that's all I care about.
Very well done,
Liz.
Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't believe we got to an hour on what had seemed to be quite a dry week of news. But
Terribly dry. Yeah.
we've done all right. haven't we?
Yeah.
Well, that is about all we've got time for on today's Thursday Club. We will be back next week with some quite exciting Fulhamish news, so stay tuned for that. But also that we might see some transfer news coming in. Who
Fingers
knows?
crossed.
Let's see where this story takes us. I mean, it's going to ramp up, isn't it, with pre-season and into next week. So hopefully we've got some exciting stuff to talk about next week along with the Fulhamish news. So thank you very much, Elizabeth, for joining me.
Thank you so much, Yasmin.
And thank you very much, Jordan, for joining us on the quiz.
Thank you for having me back on.
Thank you for listening.